In March 2003, a U.S.-led coalition launched an invasion of Iraq. This operation applied a new, fiercely debated philosophy to the reality of large-scale combat. President George W. Bush stated two primary objectives: disarm Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein of alleged weapons of mass destruction, and depose a regime accused of supporting global terror. The military's existing plan, Operational Plan 1003, followed a traditional doctrine. It was a defensive strategy that called for hundreds of thousands of troops to secure the region before and after a conflict. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld rejected that approach. He favored a lean, agile footprint, relying on speed, precision data, and a minimal troop count. His vision involved cutting deployment levels even further during the post-conflict stages. Military commanders argued that a skeleton crew lacked the manpower required to stabilize the country once the fighting stopped. These debates delayed the planning process, leaving little time to prepare for the transition to a new government. The final design focused on dismantling the current regime, but it did so by diverting energy away from long-term stability and the logistics needed to manage a country of 26 million people. When the invasion began, the strategy prioritized momentum. Coalition forces bypassed southern cities, attempting to sprint directly from the border of Kuwait to Baghdad. To manage public perception, the Pentagon embedded journalists into military units. This provided a constant stream of first-person footage for news networks, framing the high-tech advance as a clean and efficient liberation. However, the advance immediately encountered friction. On March 23rd, a convoy from the 57th Maintenance Company took a wrong turn into the town of Nasiriyah. They were ambushed, resulting in 11 U.S. troops killed and 7 captured. Instead of a conventional army defense, the coalition faced the Fedayeen Saddam. These were irregular, non-uniformed fighters who used swarm tactics to draw coalition troops into costly battles inside urban areas. High-tech assets struggled against these tactics. During a deep raid against positions at the Karbala Gap, Iraqi ground fire damaged 31 out of 32 Apache helicopters, forcing the unit to retreat with minimal impact on the enemy. These setbacks forced an operational pause. The messy reality of the desert was beginning to outpace the theoretical models used to plan the invasion. To overcome the resistance, U.S. commanders abandoned the plan for a phased assault. They instead launched thunder runs, heavy armored raids designed to drive straight into the center of Baghdad. These runs tested enemy strength and demoralized defenders. By placing tanks in the heart of the city, the military aimed to prove that the regime no longer controlled its own capital. The result was intense urban combat. As U.S. armor pierced the city, civilian commuters were caught in the crossfire. In one instance, a tank platoon sergeant recalled driving past a family in a car destroyed during the exchange of fire. The psychological impact of the armor and relentless air superiority caused the Iraqi military to dissolve. Thousands of soldiers simply abandoned their posts and returned home, leaving their uniforms and weapons in the streets. While the thunder runs successfully decapitated the regime, they pushed the coalition's logistics to their limit. The armored units in the city center became dependent on unarmored resupply trucks that had to fight through their own ambushes just to reach the front line. On May 1, 2003, President Bush gave a speech under a Mission Accomplished banner. While he noted that coalition troops would remain to transition the country to a democracy, the public narrative focused on the swift military victory. On the ground, the victory was followed by a collapse of civil order. With the Ba'athist government gone, there was no authority left to maintain the rule of law. Looting became common in major cities. Civilians stripped government buildings and hospitals of furniture and equipment, while coalition troops, restricted by low numbers and a lack of clear orders, did little to stop it. Donald Rumsfeld dismissed the chaos as an expression of freedom, but for Iraqis, it showed that the coalition was unable to protect their property or maintain basic security. The shortage of troops also left military depots unguarded. Thousands of weapons disappeared from these sites, flooding the streets with untracked small arms and explosives. By achieving a rapid military victory without a plan for the occupation, the coalition inadvertently facilitated the breakdown of the very society they intended to rebuild. To manage the post-war administration, the U.S. appointed Paul Bremer to lead the Coalition Provisional Authority. The CPA was the transitional government established to oversee the reconstruction of Iraq. Bremer issued a controversial order to disband the entire Iraqi military and police force. This overnight decision dissolved the core of the country's administrative and security state. This single order left hundreds of thousands of armed men unemployed and alienated from the new administration. Many of these former soldiers felt they had no future in the country they were being asked to accept. Because of the low troop levels mandated by the original invasion plan, many Sunni-majority cities remained outside of coalition control. These areas saw little fighting during the initial invasion and were never secured. Fallujah became a prime example of this security vacuum. Without a coalition presence, the city quickly became a sanctuary for insurgents and foreign fighters entering the country across unprotected borders. The focus on a lean, technologically driven invasion secured a rapid military victory, but it did so at the cost of triggering a decade of insurgency. In the gap between the blueprint and the ground truth, the war was only just beginning.